This is a complete guide to completing the Reckoning Easter egg on Black Ops 6 Zombies. This can be completed both solo or co-op, and this guide will be as comprehensive as possible so you can beat this Easter egg on your first attempt. Let's just jump straight into things with my recommended loadout, but if you find this guide useful, let me know down below in the comments and drop this video a like. There is a wide range of weapons suitable for this Easter egg, but I personally ran the Maelstrom shotgun as it was incredible for everything in this Easter egg and for the boss fight. Field upgrades, I 100% recommend the Ether Shroud field upgrade. Gobble guns aren't required, but anything useful like Perkaholic, Raindrops, Power Keg will be really useful in the boss fight. Jumping straight in, the first thing you want to do is to open up the map to get Pack-a-Punch activated, but whilst doing that, we can already begin some of the Easter egg steps. And the first involves opening a secret room to activate the boss fight teleporter. So from the spawn room, open up this door towards Mutant Research because we can begin a quest step straight away. In Tower 1 Mutant Research Lab, you're going to want to walk over to this box right here and interact with it, where you'll be able to pick up a syringe part. Once you've got that, continue following the prompts towards Richtofen's office, taking you over to Tower 2, and then take this elevator from Android Assembly up towards the top of Entity Containment. Continue following the prompts over to Tower 1 Executive Office, then open the marked door by to continue towards Richtofen's office. Now at this point, at some point between round 5 and round 6, you should have your first special round where taking down one of the robots has the chance of a Klaus arm dropping. You're going to need to get a Klaus arm from 2 different special rounds at some point in the game. There is a chance that you'll get one from your first. There is a chance you'll also get one from your second. Just pay attention where you're taking them down and looking at the ground to make sure you don't miss any of these arms if they drop. Once inside the director's office, interact with this snow globe to open up this room to sub-level 10. Follow the prompts to restart the particle accelerator by turning power on via that button there, and then completing the simple objective to shoot 12 of the different Ethereum deposits from the different pipes. Once completed, you will notice that either side of the particle room will now be orange, and there will be a floating human body in that beam. What we need to do now is take this platform into the beam, and it will transform you into a ball orb, and you need to move towards the direction of that body. So in my case, it was more left, so when I was about to pass the body, I moved my character to the left, and if done correctly, the body should fall to the ground. If you interact with it, you'll be able to use the syringe on that body to get a blood sample. Periodically, the items in the laser will disappear, so just wait about 10 to 15 seconds, and you can try as many times as you want in order to get this body to drop. We now need to head back to Mutant Research Lab and interact with the syringe box that we recently got, and it should pop it inside, and after a brief interaction, this test chamber will spawn in a Fowler Mangler. It's a pretty strong HVT, so depending on what round you're doing this on, you might want to make sure you have your gun Pack-a-Punch at this point, or at least at a higher rarity. But when taken down, the Mangler will drop a Fowler Mutant Injection, which you want to pick up. Shortly after, the other chambers in that room will activate, including a Disciple, as well as Toxic Zombies, so be sure to take them all out, just so that you don't have these roaming around the map later, and the Disciple isn't creating any more zombies. Now at this point, staying inside of Mutant Research Lab, you are going to come across a special zombie that only spawns in this area that will drop a keycard item that looks like this. This zombie can spawn at any point in the Research Lab area, but once you've picked it up, you need to interact with this box, which will open and reveal a DNA vial that you can pick up. You'll now want to head to the Dark Entity Containment area and go up the stairs, and you should see this face scanner right here. You'll want to use the mutant injection that you got from the previous step and then interact with the eye scanner, in which it will scan your mutant injection. If done correctly, you'll be put out of the mutant injection and this door will open, revealing a brand new teleporter room. Once you are in here, you're going to want to come up to this desk and interact with it. And as you can see, we have a note here. Now we've got to pay attention to 2 parts of the note. We need to look at the number that it is. So in mine, it says 5 combat goggles, and then we need to look at the date for archived. We need to find 4 total notes around the map that are similar to this, detailing different items. This first note will always be here in Teleportation Labs, so make sure you interact with the desk to get it. You need to pay attention to the number before the word of the item, and then you need to look at the numbered month underneath. So in this scenario, we have 5, and it was archived on the 10th month of the year, so 5/10. You now need to find 3 other notes that are going to be in the executive office all around that tower, and there are a lot of spawns around this area. One note location can be found here on the director's desk, and in my game this was 3, and then the month was 8. Another was found in the executive suite, and this was 4, and the month was 9. And another note was found here on this coffee table inside the director's office in the blue projector room, and this was 1, and our month was 7. Another potential spawn is down low in executive suite, where it can be on this table right here near the weapon wall by. Another can be in front of the door leading into the director's office on this table here, and another can be found under the TV here in the director's office right next to this wall by location here. In total, there should be 4 total note spawns for you, and you need to note down the number next to the object and then the month. Once you've got all of these, you then need to reorder them from the earliest month to the latest month. So specifically in my game, my 4 notes ended up with these, and all you have to do is rearrange these dates so you start from the earliest date to the last date. So the earliest date here is number 1, so I know that my first code number is going to be 1. Then the second earliest date is going to be number 3 because it's 7 and then 8. The third digit is going to be my number 4 here because that's the following month after 8, and then the number 5 is the final one because it's the latest month. So that gives us our full code of 1345. This will change in your game, so it won't be the same code as you're seeing here, but the exact same logic applies to get this 4-digit code. With your 4-digit code, head into the new room that we just opened and interact with this computer to put in the 4-digit code. And if done correctly, you will see an access granted screen, and we can now move on to the next step, where if we head down to Tower 1 Computing Core, you're going to need to purchase the Melee Macchiato perk. It's right here in this room, so it's very easy, but you want to melee this machine with Melee Macchiato to reveal a blue brain. Interact with it, and your character will be holding the brain, and you have a limited amount of time to take this brain all the way back to that new room that we just recently opened with that 4-digit passcode. So to get there as efficiently as possible, you want to launch yourself to Tower 2 Android Assembly, then through there, take the elevator up towards Tower 2 Dark Entity Containment, and then you can just go right up the stairs here through this teleporter and into the room, where you need to place the brain in this box right here. And if done correctly, you will get a confirmation quote, and that step is completed. Now we've done that, we can move on to the next step, which is to get the Gorgafex Wonder Weapon. The first step towards this involves heading into Mutant Research Lab and staring at 2 static TV screens. The first one can be found to the left of Deadshot Daiquiri. If we stare at it long enough, you will see that there will be a green word that flashes on screen, which in my case is nettlesome. Second static screen can be found just behind the chamber that has Richtofen's wife and son in, and in this game I had the word deceitful. I want to make a note of the first letter of your 2 words. In my case, with nettle and deceitful, I can make the initials ND or DN. With these 2 letters, look at this periodic table and look to see if you can find a matching element that matches the 2 letters from your starting letter of each word. This changes every game and the words change every round, but in my case, ND was an element on the table, and the atomic number next to it is the number 60. Now we're going to be putting in a 3-digit code. So in this case, since it's only 2 digits, our first digit is going to be 0. But if we make our way upstairs, we can input the code in this keypad, and if correct, should light up blue and opens up the bioweapons lab room, where inside is going to be a cyst behind this glass box that acts as a soul box. Here we want to fill it up with the souls of vermin. Luckily in the room, vermin will pop out of zombies. You want to lead the vermin in front of the cyst and damage them, but not enough to kill them. And if done correctly, they levitate upwards towards the cyst, and you'll see a little yellow explosion will glow above the cyst if a vermin goes in correctly. Once we've gotten a few vermin in there, we then need to repeat this with a few zombie souls. And after a while, you'll be able to interact with the cyst to pick it back up. Once you're able to pick the cyst up, we will then need to head down to the Tower 1 Quantum Computing Core area, which is where all the plants are. And once you're in the plant area, there will be 3 unique flowers that if you stand under with the cyst, you will be able to charge it by standing under them, and you will automatically pull out the cyst, and there'll be a timer on your screen. These yellow flowers will be shooting goo, so just watch out because that can hurt you. You want to hang around under all 3 until the health of all of them disappears. You don't have to do these all in one go, so if you've got a zombie, you can run around and come back to complete the bar. If you run around the main room and just outside the main room, you should be able to find the right flowers pretty easily. After the cyst has been charged from 3 flowers, head to the Tower 2 Dark Entity Containment area, which is the room where the Forsaken is. You'll want to interact with this computer that specifically has text about a power surge that when interacted will start one with electricity flowing into one corner of the Forsaken. Here there are 3 other computers in the room that you can interact with to start the next step. And if you run around the room anti-clockwise following the path that I show you, you'll be able to interact with the 3 other computers super quick within the time frame to complete complete this step. And if done correctly, there will be a big electricity surge and an Uber Klaus will spawn in. And the objective here isn't to take down Uber Klaus, but to simply shoot both plates of both shoulders. Once both shoulders are off Uber Klaus, lead it near the panel / electricity floor in front of the Forsaken, and the Forsaken will then be transferred into the Uber Klaus, turning this into a very cool HVT boss fight where you have to take down the Forsaken Klaus and then the Forsaken Klaus core. I would advise you have Pack-a-Punch weapons at this point because this is going to be pretty difficult otherwise, but once you've taken the boss out, you will then have the Gorgafex Wonder Weapon drop where one player in the game can pick it up. From here, the Easter egg gets very cool because it actually splits into 2 different sides, and I'll be showing you how to complete both, whilst also advising what is the easier option. But both sides grant you a variant of the Gorgafex, but you can't get the other one in the same game, so choose wisely. But just before we do that, there is one step you need to do with the base Gorgafex. Make your way to Tower 2 sub level 10, and at this desk area here, you should see a bunch of screens that will say boost ready. On the start of a new round, activate this. During this, you will have a very quick amount of time to shoot 4 different quantum vermin in the room that will be up really, really high using your wonder weapon. 3 of them will be watching from afar and 1 will be on the ground. Once all 4 of these have been taken out, you can then take out zombies, which will then be filling up a soul box up by the computers that we just activated. And the idea is to try and get as many zombie souls filled as possible so that once the sequence is over, the device that's floating outside above that room should have a glowing blue orb on it, which will look like this. Interact with the orb to pick it up and it will be placed onto your Gorgafex. From here, we now need to make our way back to Tower 2 teleportation lab, but at no point can you shoot your weapon. If you do, you will lose this blue orb and you'll have to repeat this step on the following round. With your glowing Gorgafex, shoot a charge shot at this portal here and it will materialize a portal which will later be for the boss fight. Now that's out the way, let's upgrade the Gorgafex to both variants. So let me first show you the easier option, which is to side with Panos. It grants you the Gorgafex C. Firstly, make your way to Tower 1 Executive Suite and interact with this door right here to get a quick interaction with Blanchard. The Gorgafex C, head to Tower 1 Janus Reception and interact with this big red button, which will trigger a shutdown event where you have to wait for this maintenance Klaus to work on the PC in the middle of the room. Once he's finished with that, one of the elevators in the reception will stop working. And in order to get it working again, you need to go up the other elevator on the opposite side of the room, then find the shaft of the broken elevator. From above, you are going to be parachuting down the shaft of the broken elevator, and it's important that you interact with the 3 glowing red buttons on the wall on the way down. If you miss any of these buttons, you can just go ahead and attempt this again, but if you've hit all 3 red buttons correctly, you'll be sent up the shaft where the Panos orb will be waiting. At this point, Panos will then possess zombies, turning them an electric blue. All you need to do here is take down all of the blue electrified zombies only using the Gorgafex Wonder Weapon. You'll notice that each of the orbs will then be spiraling around the main machine in the quantum computing lab. When you've taken down every zombie, Panos will return to his original ghostly form at the front of the main structure in the same room, and interacting with Panos with the Gorgafex in hand will upgrade it into the Gorgafex C. And that's that side of the Easter egg, but if you want to do the other side, it will unlock the Gorgafex N and you'll be siding with Blanchard, although it's not really siding. Once you have the Gorgafex, go towards Executive Suites and talk to Blanchard by interacting with this door right here. He'll request that he wants you to pick up a few items. Before that, there's another item we need to get. Once you've spoken to Blanchard, head down to the quantum computer lab and you'll want to pick up the Strauss counter from the main terminal in the middle of the room. Once you have that Strauss counter, you then want to teleport to the other tower and hold out your Strauss counter to find a high energy area. There are multiple areas where this Strauss counter will lead you to, but it will most likely lead you to a zombie window barrier with a radiation of around 9.6 at the highest. Once you're at the zombie window, there should be an item somewhere in that window. If you can't see it, just go ahead and use a charge shot of your Gorgafex somewhere, and a box should fall over and a vial will pop out at you for you to pick up. Now we've got that, there's just a few items we now need to pick up around the map. One part we need is back in the room where the cyst was in one of the original Gorgafex steps. Firstly, find the scientist on the floor in one of the corners of this room and interact to pick up this item, which is the clean hood. Check your quest items in the menu to make sure that you've got it. Another part is a PC fan, which is in the Forsaken room to the left of the Arsenal station, and will be on this machinery laying like this. If you've picked up that part, the final part is some tubing, which could be found in the outside quantum computer area, kind of near where Speed Cola is. Finally, with all the items collected, head back to Blanchard's door in the executive suites and interact to build an essence extractor. Once it's built, insert the vial that you collected earlier on and a lockdown sequence will begin, which will last for 1.5 minutes and is quite tough depending on the round you're on, so make sure you're as prepared as you can be. You'll have zombies, you'll have Klaus robots. You'll need to protect the health of it for 1 minute 30. Once you've completed this lockdown, Blanchard's essence will be sucked into the vice. Well done, you can take a little breather, you're almost there now. From here, interact with the machine once again to pick up Blanchard's life essence, which acts very similar to the ether canister from Liberty Falls, where you'll need to carry this all the way from one side of the map to the other towards Tower 1 Bioweapons Lab. Making your way from one part of the map to the other, you will lose health during this, so at any point, if you're about to lose a lot of health, just drop it momentarily and then pick it back up once you've got your health back. Once you're at the Tower 1 Bioweapons Lab, aka the cyst room, interact with the glass machine to the right of where the cyst was, and you should be able to craft the Gorgofex N. In my opinion, I think it is slightly stronger for the Easter egg quest and boss fight, but it's purely down to personal preference which upgrade you want to go for. But remember, once you've chosen one of these, you cannot do the other. At this point, you probably also had a few more Klaus special rounds where you hopefully should have got that second arm to drop. We are now going to get the 2 leg parts for Klaus, which always spawn in on the map and don't require a special Klaus round. One leg can be found here in this corner in Tower 2 of Android Assembly, so pick it up right there and you should see it add to your invent. Another spawn location for another leg can be in this door here in Android Assembly, just in front of the teleporter, but as you can see, it wasn't there in my game, but it could be there in your game. If not, another location can be beside this box in front of the elevator leading up, and with all the body parts, you should be able to attach it to this Klaus droid facing directly from the teleporter and Android Assembly. You then want to progress to a round where you have an Uber Klaus spawn in, and you want him to use his energy mine attack in front of the Klaus robot. And if done correctly, you will hear a quote from Klaus about Klaus Industrial reporting in, offering for help. With all of the parts on Klaus, he should spawn in and begin typing on a computer where you'll need to progress to the next round. Once completed, Klaus is going to move to the Dark Entity containment area of the map, where you need to follow him all the way to this SAM trial and interact with the trial, where you're then going to need to complete whatever trial is given, which is normally to kill zombies in the marked location. Once completed, Klaus will move again and he'll move into the Tower 2 teleportation lab, where he'll now be typing on this computer. And if done correctly, that's all done with Klaus and we can move on to the next step. And there is only one more step before we are ready for the boss fight. If you make your way into Tower 1 Quantum Computing Core, you should be able to see this little thing in the window here that if you use a charged Gorgofex shot on, will drop down a fungal head. We'll now need to head to one of several locations around both towers, where there is going to be a section with sprinklers as well as this yellow water bucket. One location can be here in Project Janus reception, and the idea is that you're going to want to push this bucket until it is underneath one of the sprinkler systems by meleeing it in the direction that it matches. Now it seems that the sprinklers will always be on one area of the map at any time, so if it's not here in the reception, just run around the map to a different area, and also listen out with your sound effects if you can hear sprinklers on. Where in my game, I found them on in Android Assembly in Tower 2, and I had a yellow bucket here. So what I had to do is melee the bucket until it was under one of the sprinklers, and you can see that it is filled up with water. From here, we now want to place the head in that water and then pick it back up, and you can see that there is a prompt to drop the fungal head. Now, whether you kill zombies carrying the head or you kill zombies with the head on the ground, killing zombies is going to be a soul box that is going to fill up the head with souls. Once you've gotten a few souls filled in, you'll then notice that a shadowy figure is going to be following you with weird glowing eyes that if it comes in contact with you will start damaging you, so you need to keep on the move. But once you are no longer collecting any zombie souls, you then need to carry this fungal head all the way up to Tower 2 Dark Entity Containment, where we're going to be taking it into the Tower 2 Teleportation Lab. And what you want to do is interact with this teleporter, and if done correctly, you will see the head float onto the teleporter. And now we have one final step. Around the map, there are going to be Project Janus security boxes, which previously were locked that are now unlocked. One of these locations can be found in the Mutant Research Test area, area right here. Inside will be a vacuum seal device that will replace your tactical. Around the map, there are going to be these weird purple objects that if you throw one of the vacuum seal devices at, it will then disappear, which you can then pick up. Another one of these items can be found just outside here inside of Mutant Research Test Area, but we're going to need to get ourselves another one of those vacuum seal devices. Another location for one is in Android Assembly right here. And all we need to do is throw these at 4 purple objects around the map, continuously throwing it at them and picking up the device and making sure every time you're picking it up, you can see the vacuum seal device invent number is going up. So there we had 2. With another one, you can throw it at this device here in Research Test Area to make it 3, but there are various items in pretty much every area of the map. You don't need to do these items that I'm showing, but these are the ones that are the easiest and straightforward to find. And I found another one of these vacuum seal devices in the Dark Entity containment right near the back. There are more of them around the map, but you only need to find 4 in total and throw them at 4 different objects. And there are like 3, if not 4, around the executive suite with the director's office. So just throw one of them at one of these items, as you can see here. Another spawn location for a sealed vacuum device can be in the teleportation lab as well. But once you've thrown it at 4 weird items and you have 4 vacuum sealed devices in your invent, you are ready for the boss fight. But at this point, I highly recommend that you are triple pack-a-punch. You've got all the perks that you want. You've got the gobblegum set up ready for the boss fight. You also have a decent amount of points stocked up so you can buy ammo in the boss fight. You have all 4 vacuum seal devices. Just interact with this machine to insert all of them, then press the ready button, and you'll now be in a little bit of a lockdown where there are going to be 3 switches around the map that are going to be lit up red one at a time. You need to go ahead and interact with each of them to turn them green. During this, you'll have zombies, you'll have Uber Klauses spawning in. It will be a little bit hectic, so just make sure you are prepared. There is around a 20-second or so delay before the next lever becomes active, which you can see was right here to the right of Klaus. Once you've activated all 3 levers, that will be complete, and the portal will now take you into the boss fight. If you're playing in co-op, everyone will have to vote to be ready, so don't worry, it's not going to drag you in straight away unless everyone votes and is ready. But this boss fight is very different to anything we've had in Black Ops 6 Zombies before, because there are actually 2 boss fights. You choose which one you want to fight. Once you've teleported, you then want to interrupt the Sentinel artifact, and you then need to vote if you want to choose to help Richtofen or SAM. In terms of what's easier, I definitely think SAM is an easier boss fight, so if you're trying to go the easier option, definitely pick that, but I'll show you both boss fights in this guide anyway. No matter which option you picked, the first part of this is going to be identical. The elevator is going to take you up to a platform called the Dark Ether Elements Vault 1, and what you need to do is fill up 3 soul boxes around this area. The first one can be found in this corner right here. Second can be found in the middle of this area, and a third can be found just past that to the right in the corner. Now do bear in mind, in this area, you do have Arsenal machines and the Wonder Fist machine if you didn't buy any extra perks before going in that you might want to get at this point. Once all 3 soul boxes are complete, you will get a quote from either Richtofen or SAM, and if you make your way back to the platform that got you here, all 4 of these pillars should be illuminated purple, which will take you up to the next part. Once you're in vault number 2, on top of the ceiling all around this area, there are going to be these purple lights, but some of them will not actually be lights, they will be dark ether crystals. So what you need to do is shoot any crystals that you see that are not fully formed lights. So there's going to be quite a few in this first section. Moving into the sort of middle area, you can see that there are quite a few crystals. And these will randomize every time you play, so just be very vigilant to look and check the ceilings to not miss any crystals, because you will not be able to advance until you've destroyed every crystal in this area. Once completed, going back on the platform will raise you up, and the Sentinel artifact will have red laser beams beaming into it, taking you up to the boss arena. Let's first go over the SAM boss fight, because it is the easier and what I'd say is the more preferred one if you are trying to get this Easter egg completed with less difficulty. Basics of this boss fight is that SAM is going to be completely immune apart from 2 different attack modes. The first is going to be a laser beam, and after the laser beam has finished, there will be a small amount of time where there will be red critical points on SAM that you'll be able to shoot, as well as her eye, before she goes immune again. So when you see her laser, it's a great idea if you have a Casimir ready or Ether Shroud to just be able to unload as much damage into SAM as possible during this moment before she becomes immune again. During all of this, the best method in order to tackle this is to train around the boss fight arena either clockwise or anti-clockwise. When Sam enters the middle, she's going to do an attack where she spins around shooting a ton of energy mines, and it's during this that she can also take damage. And those are the only 2 main moments in this entire boss fight where you can actually do damage to her, so she'll be completely invulnerable besides that. In the meantime, between these attacks, just continuously train around the boss fight arena and be sure to take down any zombies and heavy zombies so you can get yourself armor. You can really take advantage of her laser attack if you hide behind a piece of cover and just wait for the laser to be done, where the moment it is, just pop out and run towards her and just shoot all of those red critical spots that you see. She is a very tanky boss, so don't expect to be doing crazy damage fast very quickly. This is definitely one of those boss fights where you need to take your time, keep your distance from the energy mines that she drops, and just continuously try and put in damage during those two phases. Once you've done enough damage to her through the first phase, she will disappear and a SAM trial will begin within the boss fight arena. Now, it is definitely worth trying to complete this and get the full mastery progress on this, because if you manage to, she will drop you a free perk can power up, which is very useful if you dying wished and lost quick revive at any point during the boss fight. Once completed, SAM will return with the same 2 attacks as the previous phase, with the only difference being that the energy mines will be a little bit more frantic than they were before. Continue to damage her to get rid of her completely, and moving into the 3rd phase now, there will be another SAM trial. As this one begins, there will be a max ammo that will spawn somewhere in the arena, so be sure to grab that before it disappears. Completing this successfully will also grant you a free random perk if you manage to get legendary rarity. In this 3rd and final phase, her attacks are exactly the same, but she can also launch you into the sky where you're going to need to paraglide back down. Her energy mine spinning will also be a lot more sporadic, but if you make sure you're constantly running away from her, these usually will not target you, which is pretty nice. Right at the very end, she will spawn a ton of other dark ether portals that will drop more enemy types for you, temporarily disappearing, but once she's back, you should have more than enough opportunity after a laser attack to get the final blows in and complete the boss fight. Moving on to the Richtofen boss fight, it is almost identical in the original setup, but once you get onto the roof, you will be presented with a Uber Richtofen boss fight instead of SAM. This works very similarly to a normal Uber Klaus that you've been tackling all throughout the Easter egg up until this point, where his shoulder pads are going to be extremely weak. Field upgrades like Ether Shroud are going to be extremely useful for shrouding so that you can take off those shoulder pads. With a weapon like the Maelstrom, this is actually going to feel a bit too easy. This first phase is really relaxed. However, do not be fooled, because as he's getting lower and lower, there will be an Uber Klaus spawn, there will be many Uber Klaus cores spawning in, and there'll be a lot of projectiles and stuff facing you as you try and get Uber Richtofen's health all the way down. Once Uber Richtofen's health is completely depleted, you would think that that was the end of the boss fight, but Richtofen is now a Klaus core, flying around the map like Iron Man. This is where the boss fight gets quite difficult, as you have Uber Klauses, the special round Klauses, normal zombies, and Richtofen will now be flying around dropping air raids on you, including bombs that stay dormant on the boss fight arena that you need to avoid. You need to be constantly moving around the map clockwise in order to avoid his beams from the sky. Ether Shroud is very good in this boss fight, especially for taking Richtofen down during this moment. Other Gobagums like Idolize might also be very good as well. No matter which side you decide to go for the boss fight, I really hope you found this guide useful. I know it was a long one, but I tried to keep it as comprehensive as possible. If you need a guide for any other Easter egg in Black Ops 6 Zombies, I have a playlist link down below in the description, as well as these videos on screen for the Shattered Veil, as well as the Tomb if you need it, and I'll have additional help in the description for this Easter egg, as well as a tips and tricks guide on the best ways to get this done as quickly and as easily as possible. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.